it's funny to me that, as usual, white guys are complaining about a Latino thing. It's like, bro, we see what it is. It's a parody. It's funny. It's comedy.
You're talking about the wrestling magazines, and we were print bait before there was clickbait.
Right. And so the funny thing, because we're coming in the middle of the conversation, wonderful Willie here was telling me as a film clip, 12 minutes of people challenging for his title in his office, correct?
The cow title, Championship Office Wrestling.
Right. And me and Ray did a handicap match against you. And but I went in there, and when I grew up, my generation, we grew up on wrestling magazines, right? Yeah. And it was so much mystery because you'd see all these guys like from AWA that never came down to Florida where I grew up, or guys from WWE that never came down to Florida where I grew up. And you'd always see on the magazine like a guy with a crimson mask, just bleeding, or the Sheik.
Oh, yeah.
Or my favorite, and I think your favorite, Mil Mascara's on the cover. He always had beautiful outfits, and I couldn't wait till they came out. And then I don't know what magazine it was, and you can correct me, that had this guy. Remember Dan Shockett? Was that his name?
Oh yeah, Dan unfortunately died at a very young age. He was one of our writers. He really existed, and we turned him heel. Right,
and it was so different because he was the only heel writer.
Yeah,
it kind of broke kayfabe a little, right?
Not really. He just his thing was that he'd hate the Von Erichs, he'd hate Dusty Rhodes, he'd hate all the baby faces.
Right.
And he and I, column to column, got into arguments. When he died, we didn't know what we were going to do, and we hired this guy named Eddie Elner, who's another real person. You can find him on Facebook. Actually, he has a yoga studio out in California, and Eddie became our heel writer too. And today, when I go to conventions, it's like the singer that everyone goes to see a concert, but they just want to hear that one song.
Right.
With me, no matter what I do in my career, it's all about PWI.
Oh, yeah, because, for a long time, that was the standard. And two other things I used to love about it were the rankings.
Yep.
Okay.
I did
because
those.
You had the champion and the top 10 contenders.
Yep.
And my other favorite one, which I never got involved in, but I used to like reading it, was in the back, if you remember, they had pen pals.
Oh,
so
yes,
like
of course, yes.
So I found out that Paul Heyman was the head of the Freddie Blassie, but he got it from somebody else. I don't know if it was
Freddie
a
Blassie
Resi
fan club. Yeah.
Yeah, and and a couple other. Anybody else you can remember?
I can't remember off the top of my Eddie Gilbert.
Eddie Gilbert. There were a couple
Eddie
guys
Gilbert was huge that way. He became a correspondent for us after a while. He was so smitten with the magazines. Yeah.
Right. So my point is, not to make this too long, is I went into your office and it was jam-packed of magazines, and I just sat there mesmerizing, going through them, looking at all the pictures that you had. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah. And then as Rey Mysterio did a flip off the desk, and you as the referee started to kick me, that was it.
Right.
I also remember good times with you and Ray out in Las Vegas during WCW time, going out and having dinner and stuff. So we go back a long way.
Oh, definitely. What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? As Cody would say.
Something I want to go back to that you and I talked about on the phone, because I didn't know this. I told you that I've been watching Lucha Libre since the early 70s, from the Olympic Auditorium, Mil Mascaras, El Solitario, El Psychedelico, Black Gordman, Goliath. And you said to me that really wasn't Lucha Libre.
Right.
What was it?
It was just Mexican wrestlers coming to the United States. You know, they weren't really doing lucha. Maybe every now and then you'd see a lucha move. Like, I'll give you an example. Chavo had a great move, which I used to love. It's now called the Northern Lights suplex.
Yep.
He got it from Japan, and he used to call it, listen to this, the Mexplex. All right.
Remember.
And then he was one of the only guys that was doing what do you call this? That would get on the third rope and do a backflip and land on you. I forgot the name now. It escapes me. So he would do a little lucha move.
Like a moonsault.
Right, moonsault, exactly. But he was one of the only guys doing it. And so you get a guy like Chavo that would incorporate one or two moves, right? But it wasn't a Lucha Libre match, because I grew up watching the Olympic too. And I would see them come in, and I didn't even know what Lucha Libre was. And so when I started wrestling, and I started to go back and look at those tapes, nobody was really doing lucha. Lucha really started here in a big way was when...
Talking about in Mexico or in California?
In the United States.
Okay.
Lucha, because they always had indie promotions in Houston and San Antonio and the Hispanic markets that brought in Mexican luchadors, right? And for the Hispanic fans, which were the only ones that were really going, they'd do lucha for them. But it was only limited to those, 1,000 or less fans that saw them. But on a big scale, the first time they saw us was when Worlds Collide. Then after When Worlds Collide, which is funny because on that show, I had booked Benoit, Two Cold Scorpio, Tito Santana.
What year are we talking about?
31 years ago, so whatever that is.
Okay.
So, and then Paulie brought us into ECW,
Yes, I remember that. I was there for a lot of that.
Right. And then, WCW brought in a whole bunch of Mexicans, and then, everybody was like, every time I talk to somebody, they always say, I love the Monday Night Wars. I loved, The Rock, but they always include us. And some people would always say, I would only watch the shows just to see the luchadors. They made a big impact, and we weren't really respected because the luchadors would be wrestling and they would be talking about another match, But now you see, it's a big thing. It's a big deal.
When you're saying it's a big thing and a big deal, and of course it is, even more so now with the relationship with WWE. But
right.
What made it the big deal before WWE got a hold of it?
Well, because when you look at Lucha Libre, Bill, it's different. It isn't American wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to Japan and they give you a pair of chopsticks and you're like, what the fuck is, you know what I'm saying? So, it's like, it's not, they already, it's a style of lucha that was founded and cultivated and exported to the rest of the world. When I first started when I was in WCW in that era, there was no American luchadors, maybe one. No black luchadors, no English, and now you see all over the world people are practicing lucha because it's a creative, exciting, different style of wrestling. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't understand it because they don't have tags and they don't do this and you have a heel ref and all that." I go, exactly. You want to see American wrestling. This is not American wrestling.
What Lucha Libre? Only because there are a lot of people who don't understand Spanish. What is the actual meaning?
Lucha Libre means free wrestling.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this was a style that was started in Mexico, and just like any other country, in any sport, it has its own rules and its own dynamics, right? Like AAA is where the intergender matches started. I don't know why they don't do them in the United States, because they're great matches. And intergender,
not yet.
Yeah, it means mixed tag, right?
Yeah, well, some of the independents have done it in the past.
Right. but no big promotion. Because even
No.
when I was in MLW, and I would tell the owner there, Kurt Bauer, why don't you do intergender wrestling? And so, you know, people don't understand how cool those matches can be, but they will. And then that's number one. Number two is, you know, nobody uses the minis. Those guys are great. We hope to
Oh, my,
use
you
them.
know, when I was growing up,
Yeah,
the American minis, what they
Right.
called the midgets back then,
Right.
Skylo Low and
Right, right.
Little Brutus and all that, they were such a bright, hold on, they were just,
Right.
they were such a bright part of every wrestling show that people
Yeah.
loved to see them.
but let me explain.
the
Let me
midgets.
explain something to you. I love them too, the little people, right? I grew up watching them because they were different and, you know, they were funny, right?
Right.
But these guys, they're not like, okay, you know how like when you looked at them, they were kind of deformed and, you know, like they're just kind of shorter, you know, and they can do a lot of shit in the ring that even the big guys can't do.
Oh, yeah, they're very explosive. Absolutely.
Right. So people will be very surprised when they see him. And then we also have another thing which might be a hard sell for WWE, but the exoticos, which are like the gay, flamboyant, you know, wrestlers, and they're a part of Mexican culture, and they get over anywhere they go. So we have different stuff.
You know,
So
it's amazing that you bring that up, because I remember when I was growing up and watching wrestling from Mexico on a UHF channel, not the Olympic Auditorium in New York, and they had a man that was carrying ice around. He was called the Iceman, and
Right.
they had great characters. I couldn't wait to see it.
Yeah.
And you know, this business is, beside being pro wrestling, like great matches, but it's also that the entertainment that the luchadors, the lucha libre wrestlers bring in both characters and the seriousness of what they do. So many non-luchadors have stolen so many moves. Everybody's got to jump off the top, jump over the top rope.
Right. Or do a
Yeah.
tope. And so, you know, you look at AAA and you look at all the talent that they have taken or contracted, from Eddie Guerrero to Rey Mysterio to Pentagon to Phoenix to Taya in AEW to Commander in AEW to Mortis in AEW to the Garzas that are in, you know, WWE. I could go on and on, bro. There's a lot of talent there. For a long time, it wasn't respected like it should be, and now there is a respect. WWE does not want to Americanize it.
Good.
Yeah,
Triple
and-
H gets it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he definitely does. I want to talk to you about Chad Gable and
Right.
El Americano. Do a lot of people think that, of course, if it's him under the mask, that
Right.
that's disrespectful to Lucha Libre?
No,
Okay.
no. But it's funny to me that, as usual, white guys are complaining about a Latino thing. It's like, bro, we see what it is. It's a parody. It's funny. It's comedy.
Wait, what are they
Oh.
complaining about?
Well, they'll complain about that's very disrespectful that they have a guy called Grande Americano, and you know he's kind of making fun of Mexicans, and
Oh,
get off of that bullshit. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's nobody really in Mexico gives a shit. Just you know who gets offended, Bill?
No.
The people, the fake outrage people. Okay. Oh. Or the easily offended, you know, they're just looking something to offend them and complain.
Yeah.
But I pay zero attention to them. Yeah.
Chad Gable, again, if that's him,
Right.
worked twice that day and that match
Right.
he had with Vikingo was a 20 and a 10-star rating.
Oh, that was an incredible match. I was like so happy for both of them. And I told Chad afterwards, because I never met him, I said, bro, that was one hell of a match. And he was just like, oh, coming from you, that's cool. And I go, no, bro, I mean, you guys rocked it. I didn't expect that, because I knew Jeremy Borash. Do you know him?
Very well, of course, way
Yeah.
back from WCW. And
Yeah. So I worked with him in WWE Creative for the Lucha thing. and he
Oh,
was
right.
he was telling me, hey man, they're coming up with some really wild for their match, and I was like, good. I hope they
Good.
steal it, and they did.
It worked. It was a wrestling match.
Yeah, it was
It was a
really
wrestling
good.
match. It was really good.